So here is a video to document the rigging of the sail on a little red sailboat. So definition of terms, the top of the sail, there's a pole that we call the spar, the vertical pole we'll call the mast, and the lower pole we'll call the boom. If you found the spar and the boom separated from the sail, the first thing you'll need to do is lace the sail to the spar and the boom. To make that a little easier, there are numbers in each of the four corners of the sail and numbers near the holes on the end of each, the spar and the boom. You can see a number 1 there. And the idea is you just put the one on the sail next to the one on the boom or the spar, and there is a piece of line to tie each corner. So you tie each corner just with a square knot. That's all I've done. And then you lace it, in this case to the boom, through the grommets in the sail. And then tie it off at the far end. And usually the lacing will have been left attached to the sail, as will the piece of line that you use to tie the corner. Now I want to say something about attaching the pulleys to this, in this case, the spar. And you'll see there's just a loop around the pulley. And what we do is we just, I can't really do this and hold the camera at the same time, but we just loop it around there and then pull the pulley through the loop. You can see I can't do this very well with one hand. So there, that's all it takes to attach the pulley to the spar, and the pulley attached to the mast is done the same way. The mast, of course, tapers, so when it's snug up there, it does not tend to work its way down the mast because of the taper. Okay, a couple things to notice. So the line that we use to pull up the sail, we call that the halyard. And you'll see the halyard here. You can't see it, but there's a piece of white tape on the halyard with an H on it for halyard. So that's to help keep the lines straight when you just find them in the bag. The other line, the one that we use to manage the sail, we call the main sheet, and it has a piece of white tape with an M on it. But back to the halyard. The halyard is tied off on the end of the spar, on the lower end of the spar, and it goes up through a pulley on the mast. Let me back up. It goes up through a pulley on the spar. There's a pulley, let me get a better shot of it. There's a pulley attached to the spar. Maybe I'll let it down so you can see it better. But there's a pulley attached to the spar. The line from the end of the spar goes to that pulley on the spar and then up to the pulley on the mast. And then down to the cleat at the base of the mast. So let me let this down, and we'll give you a better shot of how it's attached. So here we are looking at this. I've let the spar down, and we're looking at how things are rigged. So the halyard is attached. Here's, maybe you can see the H. The halyard is attached here at the end of the spar. It comes through this pulley here, and then it goes up to the pulley that's on the top of the mast. And one thing to note here is that the spar is in front of, toward the front of the boat, relative to the mast. And importantly, the halyard is behind the mast. So having that halyard behind the mast sort of prevents the spar and the sail from billowing out away from the mast, which is what we would prefer. Okay, so here's a shot. I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. Oh, that didn't help, did it? I seem to have lost my light when I did that, so we'll put it back. Seems like I lost my light anyway. So I'm going to put it on pause and see if I can figure it out. Okay, I got my light back and I've zoomed in a little bit. So hopefully that's a little bit of a closer shot of where you're seeing the halyard is to the back of the mast, and the spar is to the front of the mast. That's what we want. Okay, the other piece of this is so we've got the spar supported by the halyard. We also need to pull down on the boom, and to do that we have what's called a downhaul, and mine is just this little pink piece of line that again I have attached with a loop around the boom and come down to this cleat and tied off at the cleat. So we just put a little tension on that to hold it down. It also helps to give us the shape we want for the sail. What we're looking for is the boom to be, and it could be better than what I have here, but we want the boom to be generally level. And what we're trying to avoid is having it, dip. We don't want it to dip into the water, because if it catches the water, it's likely to tip the boat over. And I'm noticing that there's really more wood sticking out there than we need, so I may trim that off a little bit, particularly on the other end of it. It sticks out there, 14 inches further than it needs to. And one of the last pieces of this is the line we call the main sheet. It's just tied with a bowline to the end of the boom. The way I presently have this is just through a pulley on the tiller, and I put a knot in the end of the main sheet so I don't lose it. But you only want to do that. What you want to be able to do is totally release the sail. So you want to make sure that you have enough main sheet so that the sail will totally empty the wind if you let go of it. So you want to be able to let go of the sail so that it doesn't tip you over. And to do that, we just let go of the main sheet. But if the main sheet is if it hits this knot before it's fully released, then you can't really release it. So you don't want to have that happen. So make sure that that sail can swing all the way around, and that there's enough main sheet to allow that to happen. And the last piece of it is the dagger board. There are two dagger boards for the boat. a deep water, the longer one, and a shallow water, the shorter one. Those go into the little well in the middle of the seats here. The idea is the diagonal piece, where the corner has been cut off, goes to the front. So the idea is that if you do get ground, that will tend to push it up rather than just breaking it off. At present, I just rely on the snug fit to hold it down. I may attach a line or a piece of bungee or something to assist with holding it down. The long one particularly is pretty buoyant, and it wants to pop up. So that's all I can think of. This is a kind of an evolving thing here with the sail, and hopefully I'll make some improvements as I go. I'll just show you the tiller here and the rudder. It's got a flip-up rudder, and again, you kind of have to reach off the back to push it down, and it just is a snug fit that holds the rudder in a vertical position when you're sailing. Likewise, it's also cut at an angle, and hopefully if you drag the bottom, it will just pop up instead of breaking anything. The tiller, or the rudder, goes into these brackets on the back. There's this little tab here that will hold it into the brackets so that it won't pop up. So you have to remember that if you put that down, you'll want to flip that up before you try to pull it out. So that's the name of this tune, Happy Sailing.